Sustained.
He hasn't asked anything privileged, so I appreciate.
Yes, he did. Whoa. Hang on. Back up, Judge.
Mr. Klingler wants to talk about his clients.
Back up.
Returned, correct?
At the station?
Yes.
I had attorney, yeah, my attorney was present.
Did your attorney ask for a copy of this report?
That's not privileged.
It wasn't in it. When I got my cash back from the station, it wasn't an investigation until we realized money was missing.
Well, did you contact your attorney and say, hey, get me a copy of that report?
That is privileged. That judge totally called that wrong. Did you call your attorney and ask for a copy of that report? He was going to go to court, but then he got high. But then he actually did go to court. Unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know who Afroman is, and you know that a while back police raided his house. He decided to record a music video about it and then got sued for defamation. So we're going to take a look, see exactly why the police think that he did in fact defame their character, and try to explain the verdict that came out in the case.
Will you help me repair my gate and door?
All right, at this point I want to pause and tell you that the lawsuit was actually over several things. Invasion of privacy, and argued in 3 different ways. Defamation. Defamation was the one that's being talked about the most, but there were several other counts there. The invasion of privacy all stems from, and in fact the defamation also stems from the fact that he had security cameras in his house that you can see in the video, and he released the video footage. The police are actually trying to argue under one of those counts of invasion of privacy that he shared their personal life, which apparently occurred in his home. Yeah, that's messy, but okay. Then the defamation, of course. Defamation is a false statement which is publicized and causes damages, essentially. Okay, so you have to have those 3. Otherwise, it's not defamation. Now, there is a different kind of defamation called defamation per se, which fits in a few different categories. One of them, probably the important one here, is implying that somebody is incompetent at their chosen profession. As we get into this, you might see that maybe they could stretch that around this. It didn't work out, but maybe it could have. At any rate, so far in this video, all we have is questions. Questions aren't statements and therefore can't be false. So, Afroman's safe up to this point.
Would you like a slice of lemon pound cake?
I mean, look, he's just being nice. He's offering him some lemon pound cake. It's there in the dish, and this officer looks like maybe he enjoys himself some lemon pound cake. I don't know him personally, just saying maybe.
The warrant said narcotics and kidnapping.
He just made a statement. The warrant said narcotics and kidnapping. But remember, for defamation to stick, you have to have a false statement. And he put in the video the warrant. And he underlined trafficking in drugs and kidnapping. So that's your first statement in the video. Can't be a false one because he's showing you a picture of the warrant. So he's still safe.
Any kidnapping victims inside my suit pockets?
All right, I do have to comment on this one. Any kidnapping victims inside my suit pockets? Now he's a comical rapper, R&B, whatever we're calling this, I don't know. But he released a song called Because I Got High, and he was going to do everything in life, but then he got high, right? Okay. Now he's doing another comical song, right? And it's hilarious. I'm sitting here trying not to laugh just so I can get through this recording, right? Okay, but any kidnapping victims inside my suit pockets, and a lot of people would look at that and go, yeah, why they're looking inside his suit pockets? Okay, they're looking for evidence, and evidence of kidnapping could be extremely small. Okay, so that part, I'm going to say, no, that's going toward the police. They can look all over as long as it's actually listed in the warrant and they have permission to search there and had, a reasonable reason to do so. Then yeah, they can search there, and it would actually make sense to just search through the whole house. Also, narcotics. Could be pretty small. I mean, narcotics can be pill form, so you could argue that a single pill could be found inside of a suit pocket. So that one I'm going to say leans toward the police, but not for a defamation case. Again, he's still just asking a question.
You crooked cops need to stop it.
Okay, you crooked cops need to stop it is actually a statement, but defamation can't be opinion, right? If I say, dude, that guy is stupid, that's an opinion, right? It's not a statement of fact. A most obvious defamation statement would be something like, okay, Bob stole my wallet. The more specific that it gets, the easier it is to prove the defamation case. Bob stole my wallet on January 6th while I was outside of my office. He snuck in and took it. That's a very specific allegation. Now, if Bob was nowhere near here, nowhere near my office, he can prove I was across the valley or I wasn't even in Arizona or whatever it is. Bob's got a great case for defamation against me. A crooked cop you need to stop, or you crooked cops need to stop it. Very generalized statement. He's going to get away with that because it's an opinion.
Is there 1,000 pounds of weed in my suit pockets?
If there was 1,000 pounds of weed in your suit pocket, it wouldn't be actually addressing the question that was raised in the warrant, at least not here in Arizona. I don't know how Ohio law reads, and that would be a good question, but here in Arizona, marijuana is its own category. You have narcotic drugs, you have dangerous drugs, you have marijuana sitting in its own category. So the warrant was related to narcotics, not marijuana. So if he had 1,000 pounds of weed in his suit pocket, it wouldn't actually be addressing the narcotic question. Still might get him in trouble because it's probably against the law still, even in a state like Arizona where it's legal. Here, it's legal up to a certain amount, which is a fairly low amount. I believe in Arizona, it's only a few ounces, but I haven't looked at that one for a while. So, yeah, the weed probably isn't what was going to get him in trouble.
Why are you stealing my money?
Why are you stealing my money? Now, a minute ago I said it has to be a statement, but if you actually analyze that, it is a statement. You are stealing my money, and I want to know why. Okay, yes, it is a question, why are you stealing my money? But it contains a statement. You are stealing my money. Here's the problem, and we already know the verdict came down and they didn't find any defamation by Afroman, okay? And here's my guess as to why, even though I haven't actually read through the verdict yet, my guess would be that the definition of stealing is different by a whole lot of people. Now that may sound a little crazy, but I happen to know a guy, it's my brother, who says taxation is theft. Now, does that mean that Congress could actually file a lawsuit against my brother for defamation? Because he's saying, oh, Congress is stealing my money. And for that matter, whatever municipality he lives in, their city council or whatever, could they sue him and say, well, yeah, we're not stealing from you, so you lied about us? Well, it's his definition of theft, right? Here again, Afroman is sitting here looking, going, that's my money, and you're taking it. You came in looking for a bunch of stuff that wasn't even there. I think you guys lied about the warrant or whatever. He's saying that to me is theft. And I kind of get where he's coming from. From the outside looking in, we're going, we don't care if you have a badge or not. If you came in my house without justification and you took money from me, I'm going to call that theft. Okay, I'm guessing that's why you could get away with a statement like this. Don't know, haven't looked at the verdict, and we will look at it here in just a little bit.
The sheriff disconnected my cameras.
Now see, that's also a definite statement, but if I'm right, he's actually showing them disconnecting the cameras. So once again, yes, it's a statement, but it has to be false. And it's apparently on video that they did. I'm not 100% sure because it doesn't, show the cameras go blank or anything like that. So I don't know. But it looks like they probably did disconnect the cameras, so that can't be defamation.
The sheriff should be locked up.
Okay, we did have one other statement in there, but once again, opinion. The sheriff should be locked up in slammers, right? It's an opinion, right? People can express an opinion. The Afroman obviously doesn't like this sheriff right now, so I wouldn't either. So he's expressing an opinion, not going to be defamatory.
Did you have to traumatize my kids?
Did you have to traumatize my kids? Again, one of those questions that contains a statement. If he can show that his kids were actually traumatized, which I'm guessing they probably would be. If they were home for this, the door's getting kicked in, there's a bunch of people coming through the house with guns. Yeah, I'm guessing they would be traumatized. So there again, not false, probably not false. Therefore, not defamatory. Okay, now in addition to the music video, there were also a lot of Instagram posts that were brought into question. One of them was just an image of the police officer, and it became known as the lemon pound cake case, which pretty funny if you ask me, but anyway. And it was next to the guy from Family Guy, Peter Griffin. And somehow they said, oh yeah, that's putting his image out in the public. And it's like, well, they walked into a house that had security cameras, and they were recorded. So, they really didn't have an expectation of privacy, or at least they shouldn't have an expectation of privacy in someone else's house. In your own house, yeah, absolutely, for sure. But your private life usually doesn't occur in someone else's house, especially when you're on the job. So, but there were a whole lot of Instagram posts that went into it too. It wasn't just the music video. In fact, there was a big long list of them in Afroman's motion to dismiss, and 2 of the charges or the counts did actually get dismissed before it even went to trial. Let's have a look at what Afroman actually said when he was on the stand.
My name is Joseph Edgar Foreman.
You are known under the stage name as Afroman, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you create music videos and do performances, is
Yes,
that
sir.
right? How many states of the United States have you performed in, do you think?
All of them.
All 50.
Yes, sir.
And how many countries have you performed in?
I don't remember, but not all of them, but I've been to a few.
How many live performances did you do last year, roughly?
I don't know, possibly 250. I don't know, but I don't know. It's a lot of days, but I don't know exactly.
That is a lot of live performances. It's basically one a day with taking off like every third or fourth day. It's a lot of performances. They're laying a foundation here. You have to ask a lot of questions, and this is why I don't do a lot of reactions to actual real court proceedings, is because you got to get through a lot of laying the foundation before you even get to the kind of the mic drop question or the smoking gun question. And a lot of times, mic drop and smoking gun are actually fake. They don't really happen in courtrooms a lot of the time. It's build and build and build, and then this question, the answer from that one will get you 3%. And that question, the answer from that one, that'll get you 5%. And this one's 6%. And you just build and build until you put all of those facts together, and then that is your case. But the whole, courtroom drama, the TV Hollywood moment of, oh, that question, we got him. Usually not the way it works. And so we have to dig through a whole lot of testimony to actually get to something really relevant.
And you were able to turn on your phone and watch through your home security system what the deputies were doing for a period of time, weren't you?
Yes.
And is it fair to say you were angry and upset about this search?
I wasn't happy.
And is that why you posted the things we've seen this week, because you weren't happy?
No, I posted it because the sheriff's never supposed to raid my house in the first place. The whole raid was a mistake. All of this is their fault. If they hadn't wrongly raided my house, there would be no lawsuit. I would not know their names. They wouldn't be on my body. They wouldn't be on my home surveillance system. And there would be no songs, nothing. My money would still be intact, nothing. So all of this is their fault.
And because they executed a search warrant on your home, that gave you the right to post the things that we've seen this week on the internet?
Because
Is that right? Is that right, Mr. Foreman?
yes, for
Yes.
tearing down my door, not paying for it, not being apologetic, me being a sport, doing something peaceful to raise the money to pay for their damages, me having the right of the freedom of speech as an American to talk to my family, friends, and fans about what the sheriffs did to my home. Yes, I had the right to my freedom of speech. After they left, I had the right to kick the can and to do what I had to do to repair the damage they brought to my house. Yes, I did.
That includes.
I can't totally disagree with him here. I'm not sure it's the best case. The question is really an interesting line here. And it seems like he got called as a witness for by the plaintiffs. It doesn't seem like this is his defense yet. I don't know for sure. Because it seems like the questions are meant to kind of trap him and make him look really guilty. And they're trying to ask, oh, what gave you the right? Well, I mean, the fact that it's in his house. I mean, he's making a fair point. He may not be making it in the most eloquent way possible, but I mean, we're talking about a guy that wrote "Because I Got High." So I mean, eloquence may not be his best feature, but the things that he's saying, it's true. I mean, it strikes me as true. So yeah, none of this would have happened if they had actually not served the warrant. A big question here to me that I haven't seen and haven't been able to find on the internet is, why did they think they had probable cause for the warrant to begin with? I would really want to know what led them to the house to begin with. Haven't been able to find that. To me, it's a fair question, especially if Afroman decides to countersue and file a civil rights violation or anything like that. But I don't know the answer to that at this point.
I didn't know nothing about the discount. I didn't know. I figured they stole my money. They turned my cameras off. So if you turn my cameras off, you must got something bad in mind. So yeah, I'm accusing them of it. You know, they turned my cameras off. I can't see what they're doing.
So your testimony under oath here today to these 10 jurors is that you brought the news when you picked up your money to protect you physically from being beat up or shot by the sheriffs, right?
Yes.
All right.
Why would it matter anyways? My big question. You brought the news with you when you picked up your money. Well, you're a public figure, you're a rapper, you still stay in the public eye. The guy just said he did 250 shows a year. He can bring the news with him if he wants to. If the news calls him and says, hey, can we follow you to the police station? We think that's a story. Well, what concern is that of the police? Yeah, I mean, it puts them in the public eye more, but I don't know. I'm not seeing anything wrong with that, and I can't think of anything that would be wrong with that under the law. A lot of people will come to me and say, hey, we really think we got screwed over. Do you think we should go to the news about this? It's usually not the best answer, usually a better path to follow, but a lot of them wonder, yeah, should we do that? And a couple of times I've said, okay, if it keeps going that way, then maybe we do. Never had to.
You had a safe in your home, correct?
2 of them.
2 safes. Did the sheriffs look into those safes, to your knowledge?
Yes, they
The
did.
deputies?
Yes.
And how did they get the combination?
I gave it to my ex-wife so the sheriffs wouldn't pull my safe out the floor, take it to the station and put something in it and try to say that whatever they put in my safe was mine. So I went ahead and gave my ex-wife, who I didn't want to give my combination to, it was just safer. I went ahead and gave her my combination so they could open up the safe and realize that they just vandalized somebody that don't even have nothing in the safe.
And do you know what was in there?
He's strategizing. I get it. Look, I am of the opinion that the type of police corruption that he's talking about doesn't happen as much as people think it does. It absolutely happens. There are crooked police officers and things like that. There have been cases proven where people have planted evidence. Deputies or detectives or whoever have planted evidence. However, he's saying, and it's a fairly good point, he's saying, okay, they shut the cameras off at my house, so why wouldn't I think that they're up to something no good? So why wouldn't I think they're going to try to plant evidence, especially when he sees it's for kidnapping and narcotics charges, and he's going, I'm a rapper, I smoke a ton of weed, and I go around the country and do shows. I know I'm not involved in kidnapping or narcotics, so yeah, I probably would be worried about that too if I was in his shoes. And he strategized and said, yeah, okay, take the combination, open it, that way that safe doesn't leave my house.
Those safes?
It was absolutely nothing in the safes.
Don't you keep jewelry in those safes?
No.
Didn't you tell me that in your deposition, that you keep jewelry in those safes?
I do.
Was anything missing from the safes when you got home after the search?
I didn't put nothing in the safes.
Was anything missing from the safes when you got home?
Nothing was in them, so nothing was missing from the safe.
You talked to Randy Walters on the phone before you got home that evening during the search, or right afterwards, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
He told you that they were taking some money and some vape pens and a small amount of marijuana. He told you that?
Yes, sir.
You knew, didn't you, Mr. Foreman, that there had been an investigation by the Claremont County Sheriff's Office into the discrepancy about the cash that was missing from your home, correct? You knew there was an investigation.
Yeah, I knew the sheriffs was investigating themselves.
Oh, that's how you saw it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you ever ask for a report so you could see how bad this investigation of themselves really was?
Yes, I was trying to get involved any way I can. The investigation was going on without any of my participation.
Did you ask for a copy of the report?
I did. I asked for everything. I was trying to be involved. I didn't.
So you've seen the report?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I just saw it a few minutes ago.
It's a good example of slow down and think about your answer, okay? No, I have not seen the report. Just saw it a few minutes ago. Direct contradiction, but he's probably saying, he's correcting himself, saying, I didn't see it before we got to court today. I just saw it a few minutes ago. It's an understandable correction, but I always tell my clients, when you're asked a question, count 1, 2, 3, then answer. Gives me an opportunity to object if I need to, but it also gives you a chance to think about your answer. And there's nothing wrong with thinking about your answer.
You had an attorney when you got the cash returned, correct?
At the station,
Yes.
I had attorney. Yeah, my attorney was present.
Did
when
your
I got my
attorney
cash.
ask for a copy of this report?
It wasn't in it when I got my cash back from the station. It wasn't an investigation until we realized money was missing.
Well, did you contact your attorney and say, hey, get me a copy of that report?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. While Mr. Klingler wants to talk about his client's attorney-client privilege and maybe waive it, Mr. Foreman does have attorney-client privilege with his attorney at that time. And we are going to assert that privilege because it's a privilege he has of right.
And so far,
Sustained.
he hasn't asked anything privileged, so I proceed.
Yes, he did.
Activity.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on. Back up, Judge.
Mr. Klingler wants to talk about his client's
Back up,
attorney-client
back up.
privilege and maybe waive it.
Returned, correct?
At the station,
Yes.
I had attorney. Yeah, my attorney was present.
Did
when
your
I got my
attorney
cash.
ask for a copy of this report?
That's not privileged.
It wasn't in it when I got my cash back from the station. It wasn't an investigation until we realized money was missing.
Well, did you contact your attorney and say, hey, get me a copy of that report?
That
I'm
is.
going to object.
That is privilege. That judge totally called that wrong. Did you call your attorney and ask for a copy of that report? A privileged communication is a communication between attorney and client which they expect to be confidential. In other words, it can't just be like in a public place, right? You can't be on the floor at the club and say, hey, can you get me a copy of that report, and expect that to be a privileged communication. However, if he is saying, did you call your attorney, okay, phone call, theoretically just two parties, okay, and ask for a copy of that report. Did you call, the final one, for the purposes of obtaining legal advice. Okay, you're calling your attorney and asking for a copy of the report. It might not sound like you're saying, do you think that we need a copy of that report? What is your legal advice on that? But it is implied there to say, that is legal advice, right? Because the attorney has the opportunity to say, at this time I don't think you should ask for a copy of that report, although I don't know why he would say that. That definitely is a privileged question. That judge totally got that wrong.
I don't know about reports. All I know is live on Fox 19 News, the lady admits that her department is short $400 of my money. That's all I know. I don't know how to investigate police officers taking money.
That's all you know, and that's all you know today, isn't it? That's the whole basis of your claim that your money was stolen, is that the amount of money that was in the bags is different from the amount of money that was written on the bag.
Okay, so I called it earlier. Remember, the statement that I said in the song that might get him in trouble was, why are you stealing my money? Okay, and that is what they're focusing on here. They're saying, oh, the statement that your money was stolen, right? That's what this whole line of questioning has been about. Your money was stolen, and they're trying to prove that that is a defamatory statement. At that point, I didn't even know that there was actually money missing. So I was just looking at them removing money under a search warrant, and that's his definition of theft. Okay, but his defense here is actually, no, money was actually missing. Somebody stole from me. And apparently, according to his testimony, somebody admitted to it on the news. So at this point, yeah, I can say I would totally agree with the jury, with whoever it is that I believe they've got a jury in the case that decided, no, that's not a defamatory statement. Yeah, because he said that they stole his money and money was actually missing and it belonged to him. What other definition of theft do you have? So yeah, I can totally see how they reached this verdict.
Yeah, my whole thing is they never should have raided me in the first place.
That's your whole thing.
That's my whole thing.
That's the point,
That's my whole
isn't
thing.
it?
If they never would have showed up, there would be no songs about them. I wouldn't know who they are. Their faces would not be on my video cameras. None of this, we wouldn't be in this room right now if they hadn't raided my house and didn't press no charges, didn't even know what they was doing. This whole thing is their fault, and they're suing me for their mistake.
And so you don't really care if they stole your money or not. You're just mad
I
about
do
what they
care about
did.
if they stole them.
But
Police officers shouldn't be stealing the civilians' money. So I do care. All of it is an outrage. This whole thing is an outrage.
You have no evidence that they took your money except for the amount on the bag isn't the same as the amount.
How about the
got
lady?
returned.
How's that not evidence? How's that not evidence? You remove money from his house and some of it disappeared. That's evidence. Give me a break, whatever your name is. Dude, come on. Okay. Look, I have heard attorneys ask some kind of stupid questions in courtrooms, and if you go on YouTube and look for it, like attorneys asking dumb questions, they're all over the place, okay? But that one, you have no evidence except for the fact that your money was removed from your home and some of it disappeared. No, do I need more?
Did you answer my
She admitted that she took my money on live Fox 19 News. Go argue with the film clip.
Yeah.
Go argue with her admitting that she took my money.
Nobody admitted that they took your money.
Well, whatever.
Testimony, objection. By the way, his attorney really should be objecting more. This guy's getting away with a lot.
Because it stayed open all weekend long, or 2 weeks after Brian and Officer Cooley just left it and just mishandled it and didn't do it right.
Just so we're honest with the jury here, Mr. Foreman, nobody admitted that they took your money, did they?
They admitted it was short.
Yes. Nobody
So it looked like
admitted
somebody
that they
took-
took your money. Correct?
It was short. She admitted, she said that it was short. How does $400 even come up missing? Odd.
You posted videos about Brian Newland doing hard drugs and snitching on his friend, and you posted those based on rumors, didn't you? We can look at your deposition, but before you argue with me, but isn't that a fact that you made those allegations based on rumors you said you heard?
It's a fact. William Newland is a convicted pedophile, and Brian Newland is his brother. After I zeroed in on Brian, I asked about him. Come to find out, he's a large statutory rapist that has sex with all kind of underage girls. He buys them beers and gets them drunk and all kind. That's probably the reason he had to leave the Adams County Sheriff Department, because he beats up his wife and he messed with underage girls, and he had to get out of town and go get a job in Norwood.
If he's not sure about those statements, he better be dadgum sure about those statements, because those will totally get you a defamation suit. So he either is really sure, or he's got another defamation suit to follow this just based on that testimony. I mean, that is wow.
All right. You don't want to answer my question.
I do. Please ask another one.
Well, let me ask this one again so I can get an answer. Do you remember in your deposition? And is it true that one of your big motivation, really, in making all of these posts is to make money?
To pay for the damage that they brought to my house under the circumstance that they shouldn't have even been there in the first place.
Okay. So the answer to my question is yes, your motivation was to make money.
To pay for the damages that they brought to my house under the circumstances that they shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Have you made enough yet to make up for it?
Not really. You know.
How much have you made on it?
I don't know exactly, but it wasn't hardly $24,000.
$24,000.
It wasn't that. It wasn't that.
You're still making money on today, right? With the new posts and advertisements and things.
It's
again?
publicity.
You're still selling merchandise, aren't you?
No, publicity. Just me. Just everybody. You know, thanks to them bringing publicity, you are the predators and the victim at the same time.
So what they did, searching your house, gave you the right to do everything you
Under the circumstance that I got freedom of speech, after they run around my house with guns and kick down my door, I got the right to kick a can in my backyard, use my freedom of speech, turn my bad times into a good time. Yes, I do. And I think I'm a sport for doing so, because I don't go to their house, kick down their doors, flip them off on their surveillance cameras, then try to play the victim and sue them.
Okay, I'm glad Afroman is not going to the police officer's house and kicking down their doors. But he is making a point here, right? Yes, they've got a warrant, but it leaves a big question for why did they have a warrant? No charges were filed or anything. So Why did they have a warrant? Was there an informant of some kind? Was it actually a reliable source? And to his point, should they have been there in the first place? That's a huge question to me for a civil rights case. For the defamation case, you're focusing strictly on, you made a statement, was it false? And did it cause damages to their reputation, etc.? So he's making a valid point, but maybe not for this particular instance. Okay, now according to nolo.com, the jury only got 3 out of the 5 counts, and they were the defamation, the false light publicity, and somehow unreasonable publicity about their private lives. Okay, now, I don't know which part that possibly could have been when he was, I mean, at least based just on the music video, he was only showing things that happened in his house and using the things that happened in his house. So, I don't know, apparently your private life can happen in someone else's house. But, okay, so deputy's defamation claim basically had 3 points. The one that I caught, the one about theft in the song. The second one, that they threatened to kill Afroman, which wasn't in the song, so it must have been on social media somewhere. And the last one, that they were white supremacists. That's going to be a lot harder to prove because it doesn't have an exact definition. So let's see how they went with that. So a good point that we didn't get to see here was that Afroman's attorney actually brought up a lot of statements, like I mentioned earlier, that were opinions or essentially that people would have known were either an exaggeration or were meant as a joke, like the lemon pound cake thing. Now that's an interesting one because going back to law school, and this is an interesting point because I attended Liberty University, and the founder of Liberty University was a guy named Jerry Falwell. Well, an important case in defamation is Falwell v. Hustler magazine. Hustler magazine had printed an article that essentially insinuated that Jerry Falwell, who was a televangelist and before that was an evangelist of Thomas Road Baptist Church in Lynchburg, Virginia, had done some really unspeakable things in an outhouse with his own mother. So he, of course, sued for defamation, and the jury, I believe, awarded him. I can't remember the entire history of the case, but it ended up at the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court basically said, no, it's not defamation because anybody reading it would know that it's supposed to be a joke. So you do actually have some leeway on that. They can say, yeah, it's kind of a joke, so it's not really defamation. So it seems like Afroman's attorney sort of leaned on that a little bit. And the second thing was that, yeah, he's a rapper performer. They don't take everything that he says at face value, sort of going to the same thing, saying, yeah, he's making jokes and it's hyperbole. Sort of the same thing, that principle I was just talking about. So basically the defense was either the statements were true or at least true enough that they don't constitute defamation, or the statements were so absurdly false that people should have known that they were hyperbole. So that looks like that's how the jury decided it. Obviously, I didn't get to talk to any jurors, so I don't know that for a fact, and I have to lean on a whole lot of what gets reported. But which is another reason why I don't always like doing actual real trials, because I have to lean on what gets reported or just what gets released in the news by, video or YouTube or whatever. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do want to see more real stuff, let me know, and even send me some links to some of the real stuff you'd like me to comment on.